on YouTube. Okay, let's start with the politics before we get into the heavy stuff, because it was a heavy week. As I mentioned in the monologue, a real difference this week in the polling with Mr. Donald Trump. Why now? I mean, it's been going on for a year. Why now? Why did it all kind of like start going south this week?
I think it's two things. I think we're seeing in this round of polls the Judge Curiel controversy. It turns out Americans don't like blatantly racist attacks on the judiciary that also signal that a president might use his power to support his own businesses and, you know, and defeat his political opponents through untoward things. And then the response to the shooting. I think there had been this idea that if there was terrorism, that would be good for Trump because people would be scared.
I thought that.
And then he said this totally unhinged stuff, and it turned out that voters don't like that. So maybe the public has better sense than we realized.
Well, you'll know I think you all know a lot of conservatives don't put a lot of stock into some polls. I'll tell you, my network did a poll, 2,000 people, mostly Democrats, post-Orlando, and has them neck and neck. But on the bigger picture on polls, we're going to see...
Well, we don't...
They're your polls. We all have...
Yeah,
you know,
we all have polls.
You can look it up.
In most polls, he did go down this week.
Okay, but bigger picture, you're going to see the candidates go up, you're going to see them go down. It's going to go on till September. And during Republican convention, you're going to see Trump's numbers go up, believe it or not. During the Democrat convention, you're going to see Hillary's numbers go up. It's all going to settle down when we get into the debates in September and October. That's when people start, that's when you'll start seeing the real numbers that matter. Until then, it's just a horse race and a daily up and down.
Well, okay, that's a very charitable way to look at it.
All right.
That's not the, I mean, that's not the way I see it. I see it as this was the week it ended.
Okay.
No. Stop. And by the way, I don't think I'm not the only one, because most of the Republicans who were caught on camera this week basically said, I don't want to talk about it. I mean, they dashed into the elevator.
What specifically do you think made Donald Trump just his whole campaign?
You know what? I think it's selfishness. The judge thing looked selfish. There is no constituency for Trump University except Donald Trump and attacking the Mexican-American judge. And then when he basically said the first thing out of his mouth after Orlando was, I was right about terrorism. He looks like what he is, a narcissist.
I think what you've said.
Go ahead, Larry.
I think what you just said is key from my perspective. And by the way, I sold pots and pans too, so I empathize with you.
You did not, really?
Yeah,
wow.
Really?
High school. Boy, was it tough.
It is tough, yes.
I think as Rich Armitage said the other day, the Republican leadership is in a fog. And I think they're in a fog primarily because of what you just said. They realize now, incontrovertibly, they do not have a winning candidate. And they don't know what to do about it.
That's it. That's it.
Larry and I are old friends. I think you know that, Bill. We worked at the State Department together, and he is a loyal patriot. But on this, we completely disagree.
Absolutely.
Right. That's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
I think Republicans, the Republican establishment in D.C., their issue is not about... The issue is that they don't control Donald Trump. And you can talk to anybody at the RNC, which I do on a daily basis, and the leadership in the House and Senate, I do also on a daily basis. They don't know Donald Trump. They can't control him. He doesn't use their pollsters. He doesn't use their money guys, because he's not a politician. And so that's why the elite and the establishment in Washington don't like Donald Trump.
And
but there's 14 million Americans out there.
That's one reason I think what I just said is operative, because what we have is we have a man, whether he intended it or not, has caused the Republican Party in its present incarnation, an objective with which I don't necessarily disagree, to commit suicide. The party is self-destructive.
And that's why I think this week they're looking for an out. I think this week they are saying, you know what, we reserve the right for a late-term abortion for Donald Trump. Because...
No.
And it might be bloody.
You guys,
we're not for abortion, but the life of the party is at stake.
Okay. All right. No one...
In cases where the...
You guys are... This conversation is only happening in L.A., Hollywood, in New York, in D.C., in New York.
No,
you people. This is not happening in the rest of America.
But you saw those poll numbers that I was citing. I mean,
which are a little questionable.
Those are very high negatives. You have to admit.
And it's poll after poll.
We don't want to
ABC, it's CBS, it's
only
Reuters.
winning white people.
Only, okay.
Only when,
I'm just
are there
saying,
enough white people?
There are 13.5 million people who voted for Donald Trump.
In Republican primaries,
Yes.
within the bubble.
But they're not in D.C., New York, you people's world.
Roughly
Because
20%.
But they're also
because they
surrounded
have a
by,
different-
but they're also surrounded by other people in their state who are not Republican primary voters.
Yeah, Mitt Romney got 62 million votes in 2012 and
in
lost.
general, just
Right,
we're not
but I'm
apples and
saying,
oranges.
like the 13 million people who went out to vote for Donald Trump in primaries, that's not enough for him to win the election. We see it clearly in the polling.
My
He's
point is that
popular
their
with
votes count. They
They're-
are people who want to vote for it.
Right.
Like this whole pundit elite conversation is
All right.
irrelevant to the voters.
Okay, let's talk about the other stuff that happened this week because it's important. And I thought Barack on YouTube. Okay, let's start with the politics before we get